Good evening and welcome to the Monday installment of the late edition, and a warm welcome to our SABC Plus viewers. My name is Oliver Dixon. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. This evening, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be participating in a two-state summit held in New York just before the start of the United Nations General Assembly, of course, with plenary being tomorrow. We're going to bring you some coverage of that on the show this evening. I'm also going to be in conversation with Ambassador Jerry Matthews Machila, who is the former United Nations Permanent Representative of South Africa. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about South Africa's correctional facilities, but more specifically, what happens after correction during stages of parole. The Minister of Correctional Services has problematized South Africa's parole conditions. We're going to be talking about stricter parole conditions. Can it solve South Africa's recidivism problem? But more importantly, can it keep those who are on parole on the straight and narrow? And then today was day 4 of the Madlanga Commission. We heard testimony today from the National Police Commissioner General Fannie Masemola. We'll talk about that as well. But first, let's take a look at your headlines.
Foreign Affairs Ministers meetings on the sideline of the UN General Assembly, which will also be participants will include all other member states of the UN who may not be members of the G20.
As world leaders gather in New York for the United Nations General Assembly, G20 foreign ministers have also met on the sidelines to prepare the ground for the Leaders Summit in November. South Africa's International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola, who is in the US attending the United Nations General Assembly, says the meeting is crucial for building consensus on key global challenges.
At no point during our interaction did the minister indicate any intention to disband the PKTT, let alone immediately participation.
The Madlanga Commission has heard that Police Minister Senzo Mchunu disbanded the political killing stars team while top cop General Fannie Masemola was on leave, approved by him. That's according to Masemola, who testified about the disbandment of the team, which is at the center of the probe against allegations of criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system.
Current intake and management practices pose major obstacles, with manual data and paper-based record keeping leaving room for errors.
The purpose of the summit is to start providing clarity, interventions, suggestions on how we can shape the system for the better.
Inadequacies in the South African parole framework have negative implications for justice and rehabilitation and should be reviewed. This came out at the National Summit on the review of the South African Parole System in Pretoria. Delivering the keynote address, Minister of Correctional Services reiterated that such deficiencies contribute towards the proliferation of gang and drug wars on the Cape Flats.
As a family, we were hoping that the accused can be charged with a life sentence, deservingly so, because he has taken away a life.
The family of former Richmond Municipal Manager Sibusiso Sithole says they want the mastermind behind his murder brought to book. Sithole was assassinated in March 2017. Convicted hitman Sabela Pewa will be sentenced on Tuesday. Sithole was shot dead on his way to a council meeting to discuss fraud and corruption matters. The South African under-21 netball team has won its second Pool D match of the World Youth Cup tournament in Gibraltar, beating Trinidad and Tobago 15-105. The Baby Proteas have 1 foot in the quarterfinals after 2 convincing victories. They can secure their spot in the last 8 with victory over Malawi tomorrow afternoon.